In this video, we're going to look at a specific type of solution. As a reminder, a solution is a homogeneous mixture and it's composed of two parts, a solute and a solvent. And so today we're going to look at something known as electrolytes. So for something to be classified as an electrolyte, it has to be able to, one, dissolve, and two, conduct electricity. And so we're going to look at 7 different substances and we're going to try to determine whether it is an electrolyte or not. And so on your worksheet, so you should have a worksheet that looks just like this. We're going to look at the substance column, so this column right here first. And we're going to write down the substances that we're going to look at. So make sure you're listening so that you can write down all of them. The first one is distilled water. So this one right here is distilled water. The next one is lemon juice. The next one is NaCl, or also known as sodium chloride or table salt. The next one is hydrochloric acid, or HCl. The next one is Gatorade. The next one is C6H12O6, so also known as sugar. And the last one is copper. And so make sure you have all 7 listed down. If you need to replay this, go ahead and replay it. If not, you can pause it if you need a moment to write all of them down. So what we're going to do is we're going to determine if they're electrolytes or not. And so I'm going to use a device known as a conductivity tester, and this is what it looks like. These little prongs right here at the end, you'll stick into the beaker, and if it conducts electricity, this light bulb should light up. And so I'm going to start with distilled water. The next column asks if it dissolves. So what we're going to do is on your paper here, you're going to make sure you fill these out as I go along, so make sure you're listening carefully. You're going to fill these 2 portions out, and I'll help us determine what these answers are, and then you at the end need to figure out whether it's an electrolyte or not based off the definition I gave y'all. And so with distilled water, if you mix water with water, it mixes. So we're going to say yes, it does dissolve. So for distilled water, we're going to put yes, it does dissolve in water because it does mix well with water. So the question now is, will it conduct electricity? So go ahead and take a moment to think about that and make a prediction, and I'm going to place the device in there and we're going to see if it does conduct electricity. All right, so we can see here that it did not light the light bulb up, so we can put no, it does not conduct electricity. So again, so far for distilled water, you should have yes, it does dissolve, and no, it does not conduct electricity. So from that information, determine if it is an electrolyte or not. The next one we're going to look at is lemon juice. So lemon juice, if you mix it with water, it does mix. So you can see it's very uniform. It's dissolved in there. So we're going to go ahead and put yes, it does dissolve. The question now is, will it conduct electricity? So go ahead and take a moment to predict, and I'm going to place the device in there and we'll see if you're right or wrong. And there it goes. You can see that it did light up. And so for that column, we're going to put yes, it does conduct electricity. So now, based off that information, determine if it is an electrolyte or not. The next one we're going to look at is sodium chloride, so table salt or NaCl. Does it dissolve in water? You should know that table salt does dissolve in water, and if you need any additional proof, you can see here that if this wasn't labeled, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between this and just regular distilled water. And so for that, we can put yes, it does dissolve in water. I'm going to place the conductivity tester in there and go ahead and make a prediction. Is it going to conduct electricity? Yes, it does. And so go ahead and put down yes for does it conduct electricity for NaCl. The next one we're going to look at is hydrochloric acid, or HCl. Does it dissolve in water? So if I look closely at this, if this wasn't labeled, could you tell me that this is not water? No, you can't tell. They look exactly the same. So we're going to put yes, HCl does dissolve. Now, will it conduct electricity? So go ahead and make a prediction, and I will place the device in, and we'll see if you're correct or not. Okay, so this one shines pretty bright, so we can go ahead and put yes for that one. And so yes, it does conduct electricity. So from that information, determine if it's an electrolyte or not. The next one is Gatorade. And so Gatorade, does it dissolve in water? Yes, it does. If you've ever bought the Gatorade powders, you mix it with water and it dissolves in the water and it's great. So go ahead and put yes, it does dissolve. And so will it conduct electricity? Let's find out. So make a prediction real quick and we'll see if you're right or wrong. Okay, so you can see this one, it barely does light up the light bulb. So, I mean, it's still lit. It's not bright, but it's still lit. So we'll go ahead and write down, yes, it does conduct electricity. So based off that information, determine if it's an electrolyte. The next one is sugar, so C6H12O6. Does it dissolve in water? You should know it does, and if you don't and need proof, if I get this beaker and we look at it without the label, can you tell that it's not water? It looks exactly like water. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference if it didn't have the label on there. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and write down, yes, it does dissolve in water. So will it conduct electricity? So make a prediction. I'm gonna place this device in there and we're gonna find out if you're right or wrong. Okay, so we can see here it does not light up the light bulb, so it is not conducting electricity. So for that one, you can go ahead and put it does not conduct electricity. And so from that information, determine if it's an electrolyte. And then for the last one, we have copper. Does it dissolve in water? So if I could move this closer to y'all, you can see little copper things at the bottom, little spheres of copper just rolling around in there. So clearly it hasn't dissolved because we can see it. So go ahead and put no, it does not dissolve in water. And so we're gonna see if it conducts electricity. So go ahead and make a prediction. I'm gonna place the device in there and we'll see what happens. Okay, so we can see it's not conducting any electricity. So for that, we can put no. So again, based on that information, determine if it's an electrolyte or not. So by now we have all our substances. Based off the information, you should be able to tell me whether it's if it's an electrolyte or not. Again, for a substance to be classified as an electrolyte, it must be able to dissolve in water or dissolve and conduct electricity. So again, it has to do both to be classified as an electrolyte. If it doesn't do both, it is not considered an electrolyte. Finally, one thing I want to mention before I end this video is you should have noticed that for the ones that did light up, some of them lit up really bright and then some of them were very faint. So there is a reason behind that. So I think it was Gatorade and HCl, so these two right here, so this one and this one. I'll put them side by side and we'll see the difference. So with Gatorade, you can see it was very faint. You can barely see it. And then when we look at something like HCl, it's much brighter. So what's the reasoning behind that? If we have a solution with electrolytes in it, what we want to understand is that the higher molarity you have, so again, molarity means how much solute you have dissolved in your solution, it's going to affect the conductivity of it. So the higher the molarity, the more conductivity it'll have. So it'll make the light bulb shine much brighter. And so that basically tells us this is a much higher concentration of electrolytes versus what Gatorade has. So your electrolytes are your solute that is dissolved in your solution. And so in this case, the electrolytes, there are far more electrolytes in here per liter than there are in this Gatorade. And that's why the Gatorade doesn't shine as bright. So you see in the commercials about how Gatorade is full of electrolytes. And so based off this, yeah, it does have electrolytes, but not a whole lot. And you know, you really don't want that much in your body. You just want a small amount to keep you going. Anything more than that isn't very beneficial to you. In something like hydrochloric acid, for instance, you can see this is a much greater concentration of electrolytes versus Gatorade. So basically what we need to be able to do is we need to be able to determine whether something is an electrolyte or not. Again, for it to be an electrolyte, it has to dissolve and conduct electricity. It must do both in order to be classified as that. So by now you should have this worksheet completed. I have answered the questions at the bottom, so hopefully you were paying attention and you can answer those as well. So make sure you write those down. When you're done with this goes in your binder and it'll be part of your binder check. So these are your electrolyte notes.